if you're a parent of a young lady and all she's doing is focusing on those vanity metrics, the external validation about her appearance or about, how she's dressed or what have you, how does that impact her as a human being? And is that healthy? And this young guy, his name was Connor, was really challenging that. Like, we've got to take a look at, how do we value others? How do we value self going forward? Because one day he's like 19 or 20. He goes, someday I'm going to be somebody's dad. And we all kind of chuckled. He's like, yeah, you think you're laughing? It scares the hell out of me because I'm going to be married to her and we're going to be so externally focused. How are we going to be able to, raise productive members of society in our household?
Yeah. Well, and that's the interesting part about everything that's going on right now. And you talk about it, especially with social media and you touched on it before, is the subconscious. What is the subconscious doing that we're not really paying attention to with all of this instant gratification that's coming around? And so how do you combat that? How do you make sure that it's not getting deeply ingrained into your subconscious to where you need that reactionary, quick feedback?
Well, it's so interesting you said that, because I talk about it in my book, where to the feedback piece, like my doom loop, my itty bitty shitty committee was very externally focused. So if the business was doing great, I was great. If the business was sucking, I sucked. And it was just this elevator ride of misery for me because I was so focused that if the business was me and I was the business, and the business defined my value, my worth on the planet. That was incredibly dangerous. So much of what goes on in our external worlds start in our internal headspace, the way we show up. I mentioned a few minutes ago that I have a coach, Dr. Friedland. He's taught me a really valuable lesson lately, and he's sharing this on his YouTube channel, where you talk about the external world. Well, things can happen to us, or they can happen for us. And if we approach something that happens for us, then we handle it in a much healthier way, and we're not victims and we're not martyrs. And he tells a powerful story of last November. He was diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer, which gives him a runway of about 15 to 24 months. Then his time will be up. And he's decided that will be the defining moment of his life. And he's going to share every day, and he does every day, a video update of how he's doing. And he's folded in his family. His wife will contribute. His 2 sons will contribute. And his goal is to teach us that no matter how bad it is, you can find the positive in it. No matter how bad it is, you can make it happen for you, not to you. And I just compliment him so greatly. We all worry about how do we live a great life? I know I do. But how do we potentially because even if Steve Jobs can't cheat death, I can't cheat death. So if all the money in the world isn't going to get by us extra time, then how do we live our best life now? And then if we know our time is coming up, how do we exit in a healthy, productive, and loving way versus a fear-based way?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't take it with you when you go. All that money is great now, but you can't take it with you.
For sure.
So you touched on it a little bit. Was at the beginning was inside out leadership. That's a phrase that I know that but for those of us that aren't totally sure what that actually means, can you give a little bit of an explanation of what that means?
Yeah, and it's really the differentiator in how I coach too. A lot of people will hire a coach to teach them a process, which is great. There's EOS, there's scaling up, both great business processes for depending upon the size of your business. So if I teach you a process, Dakota, and you don't follow it, you've paid me for it and you're not following it, I get very curious around that, because there's something going on for you that's not getting you to follow a process. If you sign up for a gym and you never go, or you sign up for a nutrition coach, yet you still eat burger and pizza, what there's a reason why. Well, there's something going on internally, and that's where I come in with inside out leadership. Because in order to change your business, in order to change your health, in order to change your personal relationships, your family dynamics, how you show up as a leader, it all comes from the inside out. So the inside out leadership that I work with puts people into the active learning cycle. We identify what's not working for you. So if you say, listen, being $600,000 in debt isn't working for you, that makes sense. I want to validate that. And then what is the strategy, or what is the intention we want to create around that shift in mindset? Then once we have an intention, we put in a strategy beneath that to go against your intention. And then there's a lot of iterative learning that sits beneath the strategy, and it just cycles through daily. And as you go through the leader starts to change internally. The crazy thing about it is, and I tell this to everyone that I work with, the more you change internally, the more you're going to show up differently in the world, and you're not even going to be aware of it. And people are going to say, oh my gosh, Dakota, your energy is just so different than it was 6 months ago. What are you doing? Or, your leaders are going to say, wow, I used to be able to pull the wool over your eyes. Now you're really on top of your game. I might want to start looking, because you're going to find out that I'm an underperformer. Or your kids are going to say, my gosh, Dad, you're so much more enjoyable to be around. What are you doing differently? Because, when you're stressed out and you're angry and you're taking it out on us, as a lot of entrepreneurs will do. We love solving problems as entrepreneurs. We don't realize that we're also the chief arsonist who start the fires that we get to put out and be the hero of.
Yeah.
All those things take place as you change your inside out. So that's really, I think, something that, as we go through the chaos and crisis of COVID, and as we get through into what the next generation of leadership is going to look like, you're going to see a lot of talk, I think, around inside out leadership.
And is it more of a mindset thing? Is it changing habits? Is it a conglomerate of the both?
I would say it's
give us a little insight.
Yeah, it's more of a conglomerate of the both. It's an awareness. It's okay. I realized that showing up isn't working for me this way. How do I want to show up differently? And then to be very mindful of it and start to show up. Google has done a lot of studies around it. They have a version of it they call psychological safety, where as a leader, if I want something different from my team, how do I show up differently? How do we interact with them differently? It's compared to just pushing down top down leadership. How do I collaborate? And millennials love the model. Millennials want to be part of teams. Millennials want to be seen and heard, and millennials want to contribute in a way that's different. I'm Gen X, different than how we were taught.